This voicemail has been emotionally compromised, and honestly, so was my entire childhood. Welcome back to the podcast where we unpack the mess, the memory, the moments that made us flinch and flourish. Today's podcast is called The Boy, the Mum, and the Politics of Being Unfancied, which sounds a bit like a bad indie film, but it's actually just my life. I'm going to start with setting the scene. I grew up in a predominantly white area, like the kind of white where the school discos played S Club 7 and only S Club 7. There was no Missy Elliott, there was no Beyonce. I might have got Outcasts, but listen, I liked S Club 7. I knew the lyrics, I knew the dances, but that just didn't reflect my life in my house. My mom played everything, and I mean everything. Disco, reggae, gospel, you name it, she played it. My brothers blasted rap, jungle, UKG, house, hip hop, and our house was loud. It was layered and it was very unapologetically black. And then, as my young 7 to 11-year-old self stepped into my school, my primary school, it felt like I'd crossed into a completely different universe, and one where I did not fit in. One where whiteness was a default and me, the black girl, the black kid, was the glitch. There were probably, looking back and thinking about it, maybe 6 ethnic minority kids in my school, and for a long time I was the only black kid. It's the point where my mom used to point it out when teachers used to be like, oh, who's your child? And my mom was like, the only black kid at the school. What do you mean? My blackness wasn't just visible to everybody, the teachers, the kids, the parents, the carers. It was incredibly isolating at that age, and I didn't have a language to articulate the feelings that I felt at that time, but I do now, and I'm gonna use that language to talk about my experience in this pod. So as I said, for most of my primary school years, I was the only black girl. And I don't know if any of you have ever been the only one. And if you have been the only one, then you know exactly what I'm saying and what that feels like. You learn to scan every room you're in. You learn to laugh at jokes that sting a little bit, feel a bit backhanded, and you learn to disappear quietly. But in year 5, I learned what racism feels like when it's personal. One day, I told a friend I liked him, and that friend told the guy that I liked him, and he told her to tell me that he'd never like me because his mum hated black people. Let me say that again. His mum hated black people, and so by extension, he could never like me because he also hated black people. And I learnt that day, as my heart was breaking and I swallowed back the tears that were daring to come out of my eyes that day. I can picture myself now that I was unfanciable, unlovable, and unworthy. Imagine being a child, what was I, maybe 8, and learning the depths of the hate that people had for black people and the depths of hatred people had for black kids. And I really learned that day everything that I really tried to ignore, even though there were other incidents of racism. But as a child, I tried to ignore it and not paint it as something to do with my skin color, but as something to do with something else. And I tried desperately to ignore it, but in that moment, I couldn't ignore it anymore. It was directly in my face, clear as day. My mom hates black people. You can't ignore that one. You can't make up anything to sugarcoat that one. I didn't know this guy's mum. I don't think I ever met her when I was a kid. And I'm glad I didn't, to be honest. But she has become a ghost in my psyche. She lives in my head rent-free. She became a symbol, a gatekeeper, and honestly, the first white woman to tell me through her son that to be black was to be undesirable. And to be honest, looking back, that was the day that I learnt about desirability politics, even though I did not know what the word meant yet. Now you're probably sitting here thinking, Ryan, what is desirability politics? Well, let me tell you, desirability politics is the idea that certain bodies are deemed more attractive, more worthy, more lovable based on race, gender, size, ability, and honestly the proximity you have to whiteness. And as a child back then, in the early 2000s, the blueprint for beauty, the blueprint for desirability, the blueprint for what was attractive was very simple. It was thin, white, straight hair, soft spoken, and small. There were some ethnic, quote unquote, images in there, but it had to be desirable and digestible to the white audience. So mixed, maybe. A little bit of curly hair, but not too curly. Brown, but not dark skin. And black feminist scholar like Moya Bailey describes something called misogynoir, which is the specific hatred directed to black women, where racism and sexism intersect. And that really showed up in 2000s imagery and media, and it showed up everywhere. It showed up in the TV shows, it showed up in dating, it showed up in how people responded to black women's voices and body and hair. And growing up as a kid, I had big curly afro hair, and it was a lot. And to be honest, I am deeply jealous of myself at primary school, and the hair I had, I wish I had it now. It was big, it was beautiful, but at the time I didn't feel like it was beautiful. I felt like it was wild and untidy and distracting. And I remember the way that my teachers and other students and their parents looked at me and looked at my hair as if it was a problem to be solved, as if it needed to be tamed, as if it needed to be watered down. And I just wanted to be seen as beautiful at the time. I just wanted to be seen as sleek and passive and just kind of blend into the crowd, and I really couldn't do that with my hair at the time. And I remember a couple of incidences when like sand was thrown in my hair, because I don't know what this child was thinking, this boy was thinking, but he threw sand in my hair. I remember my mom being like annoyed because throw sand in a black kid's hair, it's staying there forever. And it wasn't wash day yet, so she had to try and brush it out, and it took hours and hours and hours to get all the sand out. And I remember teachers trying to like touch my hair or trying to like play with my hair. And I remember, I don't know if anyone remembers at primary school when you might have played like hairdressers with your school friends in like fun time on a Friday, and my friends like not wanting to deal with my hair and touch my hair, or my hair not being like able to be plaited in these sleek little plaits that the white girls were able to do. And it just felt all too much for a child to be dealing with, to be honest. And the area I lived in wasn't great. It was adjacent to some black areas, which made it easy, but my mom often had to go out of the area to get things for my hair. But black hair products weren't in Superdrugs or Boots at the time like they are now, so it wasn't easy to go and find like hair oil or black shampoo, or I don't know if anyone remembers Pink, the hair product Pink. That couldn't find out in my area. You had to go out to like Shepherd's Bush or etc. to go and find those things if I needed them. And I think looking back now, that really just shows how misplaced I was in that area in that time. But you know, we move. And I was really relentlessly bullied about my hair growing up. In the playground, I remember I used to wear my hair in a slick back ponytail, and it was lovely. It was big at the back, it was beautiful. But at the time, back in the 2000s, I remember being at the playground and walking around with my friend, and kids coming up to me and calling my hair all types of names. I remember it was candy floss, your hair looks like candy floss girl, candy floss girl, candy floss girl. And I hated it, and they found it so funny, and I just wanted to die. Like, I just was like, I hate this so much. I wanted to die on the spot every day, and I hated break and I hated lunchtime because of it. And it just was a constant reminder that I was never going to be like the girls in the posters. I was never going to be like the girls in the tween magazines. I was never going to be the girl that the boys fancied. I was the girl that they tolerated in the class, and I was the girl they rejected, sometimes politely and very often violently, and that is another story for another day. But this continued into secondary school. I wish I could say it was just primary school and I could have left it there, but no, it followed me into secondary school. I remember seeing black girls in secondary school, because there was way more black people in my secondary school, cry because they were constantly being rejected when they tried to pursue teenage relationships, as you do. And I remember knowing how that felt because I had the framework from primary school to deal with. And I remember whenever the conversation of, does anyone remember rankings? But they used to do rankings at school, and it'd be like, who's the prettiest girl in your year? Always the top 10 was white girls, always. Who's the top 10 prettiest girl in the school? Always white girls. You ain't seen a black girl on that list. And honestly, it just got to the point where I zoned out. Conversations about who do you fancy? Don't ask me. Oh, who's the most attractive? Don't ask me. Who do you want me to rate you? No, I'm okay. I'm good. I don't want to do it. I learnt to perform, to be palatable, to gain some sense of peace, and I did that by doing things like straightening my hair. I stopped wearing my hair curly, and I lucked out because my hair was quite long, but I straightened it. I learned not to raise my voice or talk in a certain way. I softened my voice. I didn't talk about race because race and racism was uncomfortable for people. I smiled more. I was nice. I was soft, and it honestly helped me blend in. I desired so badly like some sort of white passing quality, and when I attained it, I was not letting that go. And that really evolved into white boys telling me that they'd never be with a black girl darker than me. I don't know what possessed them to feel comfortable enough to tell me these things, but I remember being told like, oh, well, you're the darkest black girl I'd be with. Yeah, your skin color's acceptable. Your skin tone's acceptable. And as a teenager, when you've dealt with so much like messaging about you being undesirable and unattractive, I took that as a small win. And honestly, now as an adult in my late 20s into my early 30s, it's horrifying to feel that way, but I just feel sad for that teenage girl who's walking around being like, this is a small win for me. Like, it felt like I had just narrowly escaped that invisibility of the other black girls into some sliver of like, oh, we can see you. And really, it was just rejection, but just with a better branding, with a better symbol, with a better logo on it. But it still was like a rejection, really. And I wish I could say that this was just personal. This was just a personal thing, but it wasn't. This pain isn't a new thing. It's very historical, and it'd be remiss of me not to bring up the historical legacies that this notion of undesirability about black women is tied to. Sabrina Strings, who I love, writes about black women in her book, The End of Love. And she talks about how black women have historically been denied love, seen as hypersexual, disposable, and unworthy of romance. In her book, in her other book, Fearing the Black Body, she traces how colonialism and slavery has shaped modern beauty standards. And she shows how during the 18th and 19th centuries, European thinkers described black women and black women's bodies as grotesque, unfeminine, animalistic, and these narratives were used to justify our slavery and sexual exploitation. She also talks about, and I actually have another book where I read excerpts from Christopher Columbus's diaries, and how he used to talk about women in his diaries, all the different races of women he came across in his travels, and how he told them exotic, their brown skin exotic, the clothes, the lack of clothes they wore as sexually suggestive, and him and other enslavers used that narrative to justify sex and sexual assault. Oh, well, they're too stupid. Look at their body, shouldn't be that way. They shouldn't be so exotic. They shouldn't be so sexual to them, even though they were ignoring their own sexualization on them. And even though they were doing that and sleeping with these women and having these sexual relations with this women, they still had the narrative that these women were not good enough to then marry or have kids with. And that legacy lives on in us now, lives on in modern day, how we as black women are seen, cast and discarded. People will say beauty is subjective, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. No, it's not. That subjectivity, that beholder, was built on empire, was built on a legacy of colonialism and slavery. And even today in pop culture, we see that black women are almost never chosen. We have the disposable black girlfriend trope that you witness in shows like Friends, with Ross, who dated Charlie, the black professor, and how Charlie's relationship led him back to Rachel. In You, Joe Goldberg dates a black girl, and that leads him back to Guinevere Beck. In Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, the black girlfriends are used to teach the white male characters about their actual true love, the white woman. Even back in 90s TV shows, you can see how interracial relationships were censored to stop showing black women as desirable. We had Boy Meets World, and Sean and Angela had a relationship and were arguably, and I'll argue this to the day that I die, the healthiest couple on the show. And they still didn't end up together at the end of it. Saved by the Bell, Zach and Lisa, who had the best chemistry of any couple, were never allowed to be a real couple. Their romance was written out very quickly after one kiss, arguably the best kiss of the show, and they dated in real life. Gone, never to be mentioned again. The message is so clear. Black girls can be cool, we can be funny, we can be desirable to some extent, but not chosen, not loved, not romanced. You can be admired, but not adored. And I think about this a lot. I think about that time, and I remember that kid, that boy who in primary school made me feel that way, and how he actually didn't really reject me, but he rejected the whole category I represented. He rejected all black women. And after that incident in primary school, and after that incident those years in secondary school, I stopped telling people who I fancied. I stopped imagining myself as the love interest. I stopped imagining myself as anyone's first choice. I became the friend, the sidekick, the comic relief when needed. I internalized the rejection so deeply that I started to reject myself. And sociologist Beverley Skeggs in The Formations of Class and Gender talks about how women denied desirability often seek respectability instead. And that is what I did. I compensated. I became the smart one, the kind one, the helper. I traded my softness, my femininity for usefulness. How can I help you? How can I be a friend to you? I was always useful, and I was never chosen. And every compliment that I did receive during that period was always, well, you're pretty for a black girl. You're not like other black girls. And even though the people who were saying that felt that it was a compliment, it was like a cut disguised as a caress. It didn't make me feel better. It actually pushed me more and more into that internalized rejection. And even now, when I get a complex when a white guy approaches me, and you get to know them and you learn that you're the only black girl they've been with, And I began to question and think, well, what makes me different to the others? Do you actually like me? What makes me the exception? It just feels odd. It feels weird. I feel uncomfortable. And I think that's the thing about growing up black in white spaces. You end up learning to really shrink yourself, to edit, to perform, to survive. You just learn to be inauthentic to your actual you, yourself. You'd end up denying levels of blackness just to fit in, just to have good moments and good years. And when I finally got to university and I finally escaped the hell that was my area, childhood area, I for the first time looked around a room, and I wasn't the only one. Actually, we were the majority. There were black women everywhere. Black women teaching, black women in societies, black women in the student unions, and they were beautiful. They were dark skinned, glowing, curly hair, and just steeped in their black womanhood. I started to read at university. I started to learn and engage in black feminist literature. I started to read Audre Lorde, Sarah Ahmed, Bell Hooks, Patricia Hill Collins. I grew up. I found my own language to understand what I was going through. I found community. I found and fell in love with and became a black feminist theorist. And I found people who saw me for me and not the deviation of beauty, but as a blueprint of beauty. I learnt about the history that they refuse to teach in schools, about beauty standards, desirability and resistance, and it made me feel better. It made me understand all the moments that I went through in primary school and secondary school. I became confident. Because I understood that these things weren't feelings, they were actually systemic, they were structural, they were outside of me, and I wasn't the only person experiencing these things or who had experienced these things. And because of all of that, I began to start unfancying whiteness, and not out of bitterness, but just out of clarity of where it came from, its history, its legacy. I started to really engage and love myself, my skin, my hair, my laughter, my softness, my rage when I have it. And Audre Lorde called self-love an act of political warfare. And loving myself is political because the world wants me to hate myself as a black person and a black woman, and I refuse to. And it kind of feels like political warfare every time you look in a mirror and see yourself as good enough and you feel like, oh, actually, I do look good, I do look great. That feels like a political choice. It feels like resistance. And now, sitting here as I record this, I get to look back and see that little girl in primary school in year 5, and I really just want to reach out to her, go back, travel in time, and hug her and tell her that she is not unworthy, that she's not unfanciable, that she's not alone, she's not the only person dealing with this. And to that boy, or wherever you are, I really hope your mum's racism didn't ruin your life, but it did ruin mine for a very long time. And I'm still unlearning much of the internalized racism I have, and I'm still healing and I'm still trying to reclaim. But that experience taught me how early racism seeps into love. How white supremacy is not just about power, it's about intimacy. It's about who gets to be held and who gets to be left out the love story. And to every black girl who's ever been told she's too dark, too loud, too much, I see you and I hear you. You are not the glitch, you are the blueprint. This voicemail has been emotionally compromised, but so has the world. Until next time, guys.